Hello Pearl Abyss, my name is Hero and today we're going to be discussing my top 5 changes that will make Black Desert a much better game. You're already starting to make some great changes with the game, Pearl Abyss. The new PvP mechanics are undergoing testing and the PvE setting in Common Sylph Part 2 looks to be promising, but here are a few more things you can do to make the game even better. The first and the largest change that needs to be made is to the open world PvP system, namely the Karma system. This system has been amended and broken down so many times this far, and it seems that the devs have completely left this part of the game completely alone. However, I think that the open world PvP is a massive part of any MMO, especially one like Black Desert that genuinely invites open world PvP at nearly every turn. The only reason there isn't a slaughter fest at every grind spot in the game is because of the wretched excuse for a common system we have now. And here are a few ways to fix this system. Step 1. Give players actual incentives to go negative. The incentive I think that would be the most logical is very simple. For every negative 100,000 karma a player reaches, they gain a 2% experience gain boost. Once a player reaches negative 1 million, which is the cap, they will have an effective 20% experience gain increase. Step 2. Keep the punishment for negative players the same. As a negative player, they are of course punished if killed. By PvE death, they can lose crystals, enchant levels, and experience, and by PvP death, they lose EXP and crystals. This system is fine, you can keep it that way as long as you make these changes. Step 3. Add punishments for death to both sides. Every time you die to a PvP death, you will receive a debuff that decreases your experience gain by 20% for 10 minutes. The more you die, the more the buff timer increases until it reaches a cap. This debuff timer will not be depleted while the player is offline. This debuff should be applied to all players who die to another player due to flagged PvP. This will incentivize lower leveled players who are getting killed not to engage with a player so that their experience gain debuff does not stack any further. I understand that a game is not supposed to punish a victim, but having at least some sort of negative backlash to being killed by another player would greatly decrease the likelihood of the attacker to be griefed as well, which is always a possibility. With this system in place, you will have given the players a legitimate reason to partake in open world PvP while still having the potential of punishment arising. You also could make any player who is negative appear on a marker on the world map, further increasing the possibility of that bandit being punished. This system also prevents karma bombing to an extent, giving the victim a small but fair and increasing punishment should they choose to continuously engage with a player they know they cannot defeat. Seems pretty fair to me. The next change would be to the Note Wars and Castle Siege system. This one is very short and simple, but adding more limitations to both of these features will greatly increase their enjoyability and variety. So for starters, make a member limit for each node ranking. A T1 node should be limited to a maximum of 30 players per guild, a T2 should be limited to 50 players per guild, and a T3 should be limited to 70 player guilds. Sieges of course can remain at 100. This will allow players to choose what kind of a guild they would like to join and what size of battle they would be interested in partaking in. Also, to help alleviate some alliancing issues, make it a rule that if a single guild drops on a territory for 2 weeks in a row and loses both times, they cannot return the next week. This will be a resting phase, which will hold back some alliance from camping the same station week after week. There is very little you can do to stop alliances in this game, I know, but this is one thing you can do to make it at least a little harder for them. Now let's go into the lobby PvP. At the moment, the only form of lobby PvP we have is Red Battlefield, which, let's face it, it's poorly designed and poorly made. I know people enjoy RBF, but it's not that great of a game mode. How about instead you create a mode that is a practice siege mode? When the match begins, allow each team 5 minutes to prepare their base and defenses, and each team will have one leader. Whoever is the highest rank in the game mode when the match starts will be selected as the leader. This person will have access to guild skills and help organize the team. There can be elephants, cannons, flame towers, the whole 9 yards. Whoever kills the enemy base first wins, or whoever has the lowest base health loses at the end of the time limit, which should be 20 to 30 minutes. This will be a very fun system that will not only give more variety of PvP for players to partake in, but also introduce the newer players to Note Wars in a very simple and harmless way. I will also suggest 3v3, 2v2, and 1v1 arenas, but I know those are coming soon enough, so no point in mentioning those. Next, incentivize players to log off. With the huge influx of Steam players as well as the game constantly growing in popularity, the last thing you want to do is make the lag worse. At the moment, there are tons of reasons to never log off of Black Desert, and I think it's time you change that. For starters, allow workers to continue working until their stamina is depleted even while you are offline. And add the experience buff for players that is active for as long as you are offline and can be used when you return to the game. This is usually known as Rest EXP and is used in many other games. Essentially, when the player logs off, they receive an experience bonus, and this experience bonus increases in its duration as long as they are offline, and when they return, they can use that experience buff as they choose. Next up, the marketplace. Now I have to say that the way you guys handle the player-to-player trading in this game is phenomenal. It's one of the most fair and balanced marketplace systems I've ever seen in any game. However, one small change could make all of the difference. Let every single item have its own kind of fail stack, and every time you fail a bid on that item, the fail stack increases. The higher the fail stack, the better chance of you winning the bid. This will make bidding on those rare items all the more tolerable, as players will visibly see that their attempts are actually meaning something. This last tip, add more loyalty items and or decrease the prices of loyalty items. This one is not the most important or necessary, so consider it a bonus tip, but I do think it would be very nice, especially for the new players. Let's face it, we all know there are some questionable items in the cash shop. You made the effort to at least put the items in the loyalty shop. However, they are simply too expensive to make them efficient for a non-paying player to gain any practical use from them. Lowering the cost of these items and adding items like the Black Spirit Essence to the loyalty shop would greatly help newer players. And that's it, Pearl Abyss. That is my list of all the small things you have to do to make your game 1,000 times better. It will probably take you no less than a month to implement everything on this list, so here's hoping you do at least one. I want to thank you guys for watching, and don't forget to subscribe. Let me know what you guys think about my list in the comments below. Also, what's your list? Let me know. It's your boy Hero. See you guys next time. Peace.